Hello, everyone. I believe we are actually ready to get started here. I want to thank you all for joining us today. This is Marc speaking from the Knowify New York office. I'm going to be, your host and the person in charge of running the webinar today. I want to make sure that everybody's actually you guys can hear everything and you can actually see the presentation. I believe that this is actually looking good, but if you are not, just let us know through the chat and we'll make sure that we fix it for you guys. I'm excited about this webinar today. And I have, I think we're gonna have a really good time. As I said, I am Marc. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Knowify. Some of you guys already know me after working with Knowify and being Knowify fan for many years. And I have Terrin in our Denver office, that he's our product expert. Terrin, how are you today?
Doing great. Always good on a webinar day.
Nice. Are you excited about this QuickBooks Desktop webinar or not?
This is, I think, the most exciting webinar we'll have in Knowify history. It's
wow.
One of the most anticipated webinars we've ever had.
All right. This is awesome. Given that this is a very special webinar, I mean, what Terrin just mentioned is actually because we've been working on this QuickBooks integration for at least 2 years. So this is likely to be the largest Knowify project ever. This is an integration that is extremely important for us, that we've taken very seriously. We know how important QuickBooks Desktop is for the construction industry, and we wanted to make sure to get it 100% right. And one of the pieces to get it right was actually being able to count on a reliable partner, to have a platform that we can trust to build the integration. And for that, our friends at Right Networks have been instrumental. And that's why today we have Kevin with us. I think he's the director of sales at Right Networks. He's going to be sharing a little bit more about Right Networks and why Right Networks and QuickBooks Desktop are a great combo. Here we have Kevin on the line. Kevin, how are you?
I'm here. Thanks, Marc. Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate being on this, and excited for you guys that the integration is up and launching, and just happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I just want to do a quick, what we're going to be covering today, so you all guys have, an idea of what we're going to be doing in the next 25, 30 minutes. So first, we're going to start with, why QuickBooks Desktop, Knowify, and Right Networks, right? Why is this a great combo for you guys? The second part will be learning a little bit more about Right Networks. I feel that, I'm sure that you all guys have different setups on how you host your QuickBooks Desktop software. I think that Right Network is an ideal solution for those that are looking, for a more reliable platform to host it. And you'll hear from Kevin. And finally, we'll have, a live demo, because that's why we are all here. We all want to see the integration in action. And we'll do some Q&A, by the end. So just to get started, right? I think that, and you know this much better than myself, QuickBooks Desktop has been a great solution for the construction industry. I think that it was one software that changed the way that we run our back office. And I feel that many contractors, especially in the US, they have relied on QuickBooks Desktop to actually run pretty much everything. So that's why it's a dominant accounting software in the industry, and that's why so many people, even if we are hearing all this noise about switching to QuickBooks Online and why we have to embrace the cloud, the reality is that many contractors, many companies do not have to do it. I think that a few weeks ago we were discussing on why people don't switch to QuickBooks Online, and we were chatting with our very good friend, Tonya Schulte, right? And she had very strong opinions on this. And the reality is that most contracting firms, or for most contracting firms, the QuickBooks Desktop solution is already a good solution for them. They do not need to switch to online. It's a solution that they know. It's something that they have already trained their employees on. So they don't have to go and just, learn about the new software with new complexities and so on. They're already busy. Guys, and I think that that's true for pretty much everybody joining us today. You guys are already busy as you are. If on top of that we add additional software, additional training, that's certainly too much. But at the same time, as much as QuickBooks Desktop is absolutely great solution, I think that you will all agree that it has its limitations, right? For instance, even if QuickBooks Desktop has a solution specifically for the construction industry, for contractors, there are many things that you cannot do in QuickBooks Desktop. You know, you have to do like workarounds for payment applications and AA billing, right? I mean, change order management, RFIs, or basic project management, you know, milestones, phases, scheduling, time tracking, you know, all these little things that are a lot about connecting the office with the field. You know, at the end of the day, construction happens in the job site, not in the office. But we spend many hours in the office, and you all know that. So we have to find a better way to connect both worlds, and that's where Knowify and QuickBooks Desktop, you know, come to the rescue. At the same time, though, QuickBooks Desktop is desktop software, so it's hosted in the computer that it's actually installed. That has its limitations, right? How do you give access to other people that might not be in the same location? How do you give access to your accountant? How do you make sure that if your computer is struggling or maybe, you know, something happens to that device, you don't lose everything, or you are just like, you know, you don't have to stop operations. And that's why actually where Right Networks come into play. And I think that they are an extremely reliable partner when it comes to hosting QuickBooks Desktop. And with Knowify, QuickBooks Desktop, and Right Networks, you know, I think that you have the ideal combo to finally digitalize your business. I think that, you know, it's 2020, and you know, piling up paper and relying on all processes that will keep you hours in the office is certainly not the future. It's certainly like hurting your bottom line. So we are here to help you be, you know, to find the tools to be more efficient, you know, to find the tools to spend less hours in the office doing pure back office work and spending more time providing service to your customers, right? Like focusing on what really matters. So this is the introduction, and now I'm going to hand it over to Kevin, that he's going to actually, you know, tell us a bit more about Right Networks.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. And appreciate the intro there and kind of the overview on us and who we are. And thanks for the nice words about being a great partner, strategic partner. And I'll talk a little bit, guys, about who we are in the industry, what we do, the customers we service, and then any questions, feel free to filter them through chat and we can get you answers back on anything specifically I touched on. But we are 100% accounting focused. So we understand our customers. We understand that these are either small, medium businesses with specific users that focus on the accounting software. You know, in most cases, primarily a large majority of our cases would be the desktop version of QuickBooks. That's kind of where we shine in hosting that product within our environment. And we are the market leader in what we do. So we got about 165,000 users accessing the system on a monthly basis, and that is globally. So just like Mark said, these are folks that see the features and functionality of desktop, know that that is rich, and some of the online solutions that they could transition over to might not be a good fit for especially a lot of folks in this particular space or in these industries. So they like to take the same desktop software they've always been used to, no new learning curve, don't have to lose any functionality or features, and just take that desktop software and pop it right into the cloud on our systems. And then we manage it, provide cloud access, make sure it's secure, back it up, and support it for customers as well too. So in addition to not just hosting the applications, we do have strategic partnerships with Intuit, you know, in the accounting space, obviously for small, medium businesses. It's almost like our product teams are one product team. We work together and make sure that it's just the best customer experience that we can provide for folks hosting QuickBooks with us. And then in the tax space, we have strategic partnerships with CCH as well as Thomson Reuters when hosting their applications in our environments. Definitely deep industry experience and knowledge, right, required to provide best-in-class cloud solutions. We've been doing this for about 17 years and learned a lot over that time and have really understood how to scale, how to make sure, you know, you're able to have a highly available, redundant, robust infrastructure that folks can log into, and it almost feels just like another desktop that they're accessing. So, you know, picture a PC, if you will, or a hosted desktop in the cloud that you have your business critical applications now running off of that you can get to anywhere, and it's all managed by us, and nothing really exists locally on the PC or the server in your office anymore. Huge reason why we've got to where we have and have been able to scale and are backed by Intuit in terms of them reselling our hosting services is really the patented Hyperwrite technology that we designed in-house. It's really a virtualization technology that allows users to access, without getting too technical, but allows users to access a multi-tenant kind of clustered server environment to allow for no downtimes. But as you log in and access any one of our servers, your applications like Knowify and your integrations with QuickBooks follow you all around throughout the environment. So, providing the availability and the highly available redundant infrastructure that we know is key to launching and having a successful cloud-based business, but also giving you the flexibility to run any third-party applications you'd like to from your username and no matter where you're accessing from. So very, very big differentiator for us was designing that technology in-house. We have 3 SOC 1 and 2 data centers and a DR site in the United States. So definitely not messing around in security, guys. With 165,000 users, I think we're at, I don't even know, maybe over 1 million or 2 million QuickBooks company files that we host within our system. So a lot of financial data, a lot of security goes into that, and definitely something we invest heavily in terms of not just physical data centers like the SOC 1 and 2 data centers where we house data, which are, the safest place, physical locations you can be in the United States, but we have in-house security departments, full-blown security certified personnel on staff that really just monitor all these threats and, the dark web out there in terms of folks that could try to hack or do things of any of that nature. So security is a really big deal to us and something we do not take lightly here. In addition to QuickBooks, we have 300 plus connected and integrated business applications, just like Knowify on here today, applications that solve best in class. Really we like to park it with market leaders like Knowify and say, let's find the best in class solutions per industry or per vertical. Let's design or create a partnership with these guys and make sure we're working together and know that we have trusted partners. So all the applications that we do host, we have a good relationship with. It's not just really getting an install kit and slapping the software on our server. We have to really have an integrated partnership with that vendor, knowing that if support things come up or maintenance releases or anything that we need to work on together, we're going to be able to dive in and kind of dig in together, and the customer is going to only benefit from that overall experience, right? So, and we do have 300 plus accounting firms underneath our umbrella as well too. So ton of small, medium businesses that host with us directly. A lot of manufacturing contractors in that space. Just seems to be a very large industry for us. I think a lot of that is due to remote access to the QuickBooks files, as well as a lot of those folks are running QuickBooks Enterprise or Premier manufacturing and wholesale, certain types of versions of QuickBooks that play a lot nicer for the desktop industry in general. What services do we offer? So I touched a little bit on that, right? But QuickBooks Desktop hosting of Pro, Premier, and Enterprise. And again, think of this as delivered via a Windows hosted desktop or a hosted PC within our environment. Looks just like, any PC or Windows desktop any would be used to before. And basically we preload those applications on that you've selected for your package. And again, over 250 third-party applications like Knowify and, Bill.com and some other applications that integrate there. And those are all built into kind of our bundled packages to make it real easy for folks to utilize the apps that they need. And then we have the Microsoft Office suite, right? So we build in the capabilities to export to Excel. Some folks like to use Outlook in terms of email on our systems, obviously Word, PowerPoint, etc. So, we understand that people are going to need some of these business critical applications, and then we're going to need them in the space that they have their QuickBooks or their other third-party applications, and know that that integration is key for their success. And then world-class North American support. So 24/7, 365, we are open all the time. You should always be able to get a live phone agent. And that's, throughout the business day, as well as 3, 4 a.m. in tax season when you probably need us most. So support's a real differentiator for us overall. So who might be interested in Right Networks? What type of customers would be interested? What small, medium businesses would be interested in our solution? And I mentioned QuickBooks hosting, but to break it down here, there's some other kind of key factors and why folks would consider hosting and consider joining the Right Networks kind of customer base. One is they're looking to significantly reduce their IT costs. You guys might have a server in-house with an IT company that you pay, a monthly retainer to, or an IT person on staff that part of their job is to manage that server. And, you know, when that server runs out of resources or its shelf life gets a little bit too long there, there's obviously conversations regarding investing in a new server and buying new equipment and new infrastructure. And that's kind of where our conversation can kind of really come into play and say, well, maybe we try this hosting avenue and go with some cloud expert guides and not have to worry about keeping the stuff in-house, where I have to worry about my own security, my own liability of data, my own backup strategy, all that stuff that can keep small, medium business owners up at night, really. A lot of folks that join our system have multiple locations, right? It's hard to collaborate when you have multiple physical locations across the country, especially if you're not managing your own in-house server or don't want to be doing that, right? So you want to be able to have an environment that's one environment, that's a seamless place to log in, where you have simultaneous live users accessing the same file and everyone's on the same page there. So multi-locations are, you know, big portion of our customer base. Also a neat way, you know, to securely store and access your financial data. These are folks that, again, don't want to have the liability of having their financials for their small, medium business on a local PC or a laptop that could, you know, God forbid, get burned in a fire or get hacked, or the hard drive could fail. So really just that disaster recovery, peace of mind to know that you're working with a cloud provider that's keeping your backups safe and are able to restore files from any specific amount of time in the past there. Folks that are looking for anytime, anywhere access. Obviously, it's 2020. Remote users, remote workers, folks want to leverage talent from anywhere. They want to be able to log in from anywhere. We live in a mobile world now, right? So, you know, if you're able to access all these other things from anywhere, you should be able to access your business critical applications. And that's exactly what we provide. And then collaboration with accountant. A lot of small, medium businesses that work with us will want their accountant to have some type of login or a username that has visibility and transparency into their files so that they can log in and provide additional advisory services for them and things that they can kind of build off and get more value out of their account with a service like ours. And then again, looking for a disaster recovery plan for their business critical applications. When you look at setting something like that up yourself, the cost can be absolutely astronomical to try to set up redundant servers and a DR site that's, you know, porting all your backups over. And then you start getting into the realm of technology and not focusing on your business, where experts like us are here to ready to take all that stuff over for you guys so you can get back to focusing on your business there. So want to thank you guys, and definitely quick overview of Right Network. So let us know if you have any questions, but hopefully that kind of gives a sense of who we are, kind of where we play, and the customers that we work with there.
Thank you, Kevin. I think that this, you know, I mean, it's been extremely helpful, at least for me, for sure. I mean, I'm always impressed with Right Network's technology. I feel that for people that have been dealing with, you know, multiple computers, unreliable computers, having the, you know, the peace of mind of having your QuickBooks hosted in one instance that you can, you know, just remote from anywhere and have access to it, I think it's priceless. And I think I'm one of the reasons to having Right Networks here today was not just so that you guys, you know a little bit more about Right Networks. It's also to tell you a little bit more about, you know, what is Knowify 2020, right? I think that Knowify up until today has been, you know, mostly business management software for contractors. But moving forward, we also want to give you kind of like a cherry-picked list of services that your business also needs, and partners that we actually trust. You know, so Right Networks is definitely our, like, you know, best and most reliable partner for hosting QuickBooks Desktop. But the same way we have, you know, Square for payments, permits.com for pulling permits from the building department, or bill.com for processing bills. You know, all these partners that we are putting together so that, you know, we end up being like a one-stop shop. You know, I want running a contracting business to be as seamless as possible. I know that to do that, you have to deal with multiple vendors. You know, why don't we put all the best, you know, together so that you can actually have, you know, the ultimate solution? And that's our goal. But today, at least, you know, in the demo, we'll show you how this integration works. And that's, you know, I know that you're all excited to see it live, and I am also excited about this live demo. Quick overview of what we will show, you know, what are the type of objects that we see. And this is going to be familiar for you guys if you already know our QuickBooks Online integration, because we've tried to accomplish pretty much the same. You know, you'll see how customers, vendors, and items sync both ways. You'll see how jobs, invoices, expenses, vendor credits, they go from Knowify to QuickBooks. And then all the basic like lists from QuickBooks to Knowify, employees, taxes, classes, accounts, and so on. And then payments, because I know that, some people like to just record payments in QuickBooks. Some other people do it in Knowify, but you just want, both softwares to be in sync, and real time. And that's what we want to accomplish. So that's why we have Terrin here. Terrin is our product expert. I'm sure you've already seen, Terrin's webinars and Terrin's tutorials. So today we're going to see like a quick demo of Knowify, like 5-10 minutes. And then we're going to see how everything syncs with QuickBooks Desktop.
Awesome. Yeah, I think people are going to be relieved that we have some videos that aren't too much of my voice finally up on the YouTube channel. So
yes, coming up soon, new voices from Knowify.
Okay, and my screen should be up now. And for those of you who have seen a lot of demonstrations of Knowify and seen the YouTube channel, you'll probably be pretty familiar with a lot of what we're going to be showing with this demonstration. But I am going to start off in our dashboard so you can kind of just see this one extra card that you'll be given when you're connected to QuickBooks Desktop. This just shows you, whether or not your QuickBooks account is connected to the Knowify Sync Manager, and if your Sync Manager is then connected to your Knowify account. So it's nice to make sure that both these are connected before you start working with Knowify and your QuickBooks Desktop account. But I'm going to start just as if I would normal demonstration here, where I'll go to my contract jobs. I'm going to add a new job to my account. I'll give my job a name, and I'll be able to choose a client from my database. This is my Knowify database, but it actually will come in from your QuickBooks Desktop account when you initially connect Knowify to QuickBooks Desktop. And for this example, I'm actually going to add a new client here. And adding this client will actually, once we sync with QuickBooks Desktop, add that client to my QBD account as well. And I'll just go with a simple job here so we can skip some of the steps and move on with the actual QuickBooks integration part of this. And you see that it gives us the option of whether or not we want to send this job to QuickBooks as one of my QuickBooks projects. I'll go ahead and save this and start building a contract. Now, because we generated a client and because we generated a job, it added those two items into our transactions feed, the different things that are going to end up syncing with QuickBooks when we trigger the actual integration. I'm going to stay very simple with this. I'm just going to say, this is a painting job that we're doing for $5,000. And I won't bother filling in the rest of the information. Again, if you're familiar with Knowify, you probably know a lot more about what we can do around proposals and setting up e-signature. What I want to do in this case is generate an invoice, so we have an invoice that we can sync to our QuickBooks account. It'll just be a progress invoice. I'll say half of the contract value to date. We'll generate this $2,500 invoice. And again, you see we're always given the option whether or not we want to send this to QuickBooks. And when we have that box checked, it's going to add this to the queue of different pending items that are going to end up syncing when we actually trigger the sync to QuickBooks Desktop. Aside from the invoice, I'm also going to log a bill from a vendor against that job. So I can click Add New Bill. And again, the vendor database is synced bidirectionally with QuickBooks Desktop. So when I initially connect, it's going to pull in all my vendors. So I can just reference ones that are already in QuickBooks, instead of having to add new ones in Knowify every time. I can add an item. What was my job? Number 014. I'm buying paint. And I can write in how much I spent. Obviously, we can fill in other details like when we receive the bill, the invoice number, when the payment is due. And when I submit this, you'll see this very familiar Send to QuickBooks option. And I'll add that to the queue as well. And so unlike our QuickBooks Online integration, instead of this being an immediate sync, what this does is it sets up a queue of different transactions that it's preparing to sync. And when I go to my QuickBooks page, I'll be able to see all the transactions that I created during this demonstration, my client, my job, the invoice, a bill. And you see I have the sync with QuickBooks option. It knows that there's 4 pending transactions. And clicking this is going to power up the sync agent, which is connected to our QuickBooks Desktop file.
I think that probably we're going to see here how it syncs, and then we can also show the QuickBooks site, right, Terrin? That's going to probably help everybody here get a better sense of this sync.
Yeah, so once this finishes syncing everything, I'll actually turn over the screen share to Mark so he can show all the transactions that were then created in QuickBooks Desktop. And you can see that it's showing us a breakdown of what's syncing at each moment. So there's 2 that have synced successfully, 1 that's 2 that are still pending. And you can see each of these items being marked as complete as we go through.
And if you ever have an error, sometimes, the integrations, right? So there might be like a duplicate invoice number, there could be a client that is missing. So you will see it in the transactions log, and, and the log will actually kind of like guide you on how to fix it. So now maybe we can actually show you, well, you can see that all these 4 transactions have already synced. We're going to turn it to my screen. And I think that, one of the cool things about this demo that we're giving you guys today, you guys can see my screen now, right? Cool. One of the cool things that we can see about this demo today is that, we have Terrin in Denver. I am myself in New York. We have QuickBooks hosted by Right Networks somewhere in the US. You can see right now here, this is actually a Right Networks instance. I just accessed my account on Right Networks, where I have my sync manager that comes out of the box with a Right Networks instance. And this is where I have my, my QuickBooks with my company file. And the cool thing here is that Terrin was running Knowify from Denver. I was just sitting here looking at QuickBooks. And Kevin was doing something else, I guess, but maybe just making sure that that the Right Networks was certainly delivering as we expected, and we can see here, the Turner construction job. We can see the invoice for $2,500, and everything has already been created here. I think that the exciting piece about this is that you didn't have to double enter anything. Everything is right where you would expect. You can see it also in the, obviously, in the transactions page, and so on and so on. So I think that, seamless and removing the classic hassle of having to go and double enter data, making sure that your accounting department, your project managers, the people are in the field are in sync, and so on and so on. I think that, QuickBooks Desktop plus Knowify plus Right Networks here probably delivers the, the best user experience that you would expect. Obviously, one of the important things about QuickBooks Desktop to keep in mind, and especially our integration, is that the most important piece here is actually this sync manager, right? The sync manager will be the tool that will connect Knowify and QuickBooks, and this sync manager will live in Right Network or in the computer where you actually have QuickBooks installed. And if this sync manager is running, if QuickBooks is running, you're going to be able to sync all these transactions seamlessly. One of the important things though, at least for our launch and at least for the immediate future of this integration, right now the integration is available just in the US, just for Windows machines. We might be open to exploring other countries and other operating systems in the future, but in the short term, it's going to be US and Windows machines. This has been usually the most reliable environment for us, and we want to make sure that we deliver at least for those that we know very well. I think it's time for the Q&A. I think we have a few questions here and there, and I'm gonna just probably pass it to. Let me see.
And worth noting that even if you're running a Apple computer, since Right Networks can be working with a Windows machine, as we see here, Mark in this example is actually using an Apple computer, but successfully running the QuickBooks Desktop integration through a Windows computer. So there's always that option as well.
That's a very good point. Yeah, definitely. Like Knowify is, operating system agnostic, so you can run it on any machine. So that's definitely, like, it comes handy if you're actually thinking about keeping QuickBooks Desktop in a Windows machine, but you actually were thinking about transitioning your computers in your office to, to, for instance, Apple. You can be using Knowify with Apple, and then you can keep definitely QuickBooks Desktop in the Windows machine and make everything sync seamlessly.
And the first question that just came in was, will this work in Canada? And I believe, as Marc just said, we're not ready to work with QuickBooks Desktop in Canada yet. We are fully integrated with QuickBooks Online in Canada, but QuickBooks Desktop in Canada is something that hopefully should be coming in the future, just not at this point in time.
We've been working with the Right Networks and Notify people to get the integration also up and running in Canada. As you know, all our Canadian friends know, there are some tax, some tax things that we have to make sure that they all work properly, that the accounting and Notify work properly, and it always takes a little bit more of time, but we'll get there.
We also had a question of if the proposals generated in Knowify would sync to QuickBooks Desktop as estimates. At this point in time, that's not something that we're syncing. And it's not actually part of our QuickBooks Online integration either. We prefer that all contract management and job-related items are held in Knowify, whereas QuickBooks will still be the main source of all of your company financials. So you'll always have access to your proposals, to your active contracts and progress billing in your Knowify account, but it won't sync over that specific part of the job data to your QuickBooks account.
I think this is actually a topic that Terrin and I have discussed at length in the past. I think that this is a frequently requested feature. From our perspective, Knowify is all about contract and proposal management. We have like many different types of proposals, either fixed price, like schedule of values, time and materials, maintenance, while QuickBooks only has, the regular estimate type. So for us, like matching the 4, 5, 6 different types on the Knowify side to the only single type in QuickBooks would never probably provide the user experience and, and the quality that we are expecting. And we certainly don't want to, we don't want to be making assumptions when we sync with QuickBooks. We want to make sure that you guys know 100% what's going on. So that's one of the reasons.
And I think that's actually the last of the questions. I actually see some more coming in. So this question is how to send a bill PDF to QuickBooks Desktop from a supplier. I believe that at this point in time, we don't actually sync the PDF of the bill, but obviously if you enter that PDF into Knowify, then we'll store it for as long as you have a Knowify account. So that's an indefinite access to the bill PDFs. And then the follow-up question, actually the next question after that was, will the progress invoices sync to QuickBooks? Which of course all of your progress invoices will sync with your QuickBooks account. That's actually what we have demonstrated here, which I believe Marc is pulling up. And the amount of progress is going to be held in Knowify. So since the contract value isn't syncing with QuickBooks, then the percentage of completion is always held in Knowify. But the invoices themselves, the receivables that you want to be able to track in QuickBooks will of course always sync to your QuickBooks account. And the payments are bi-directional. So if you want to manage your payments, if you want to log your client checks into QuickBooks, those will sync back to Knowify from QuickBooks. The only requirement being that you create the invoice in your Knowify account initially. And progress invoicing is one of our oldest and strongest features in Knowify. So of course, if you are invoicing 50% of the contract, we'll keep track of that. So the next time you create an invoice, it knows that there's 50% remaining. Another question was, when there is an invoice with retainage, does that detail sync with QuickBooks? This is actually a very good question about AIA invoicing, but I'll pass that one on to you, Marc, because I think you have more info on how that will actually sync.
Yeah, definitely. So we actually sync retainage with QuickBooks. And we do it in a very similar way as we do it with QuickBooks Online. So the invoice that will go to Knowify, from Knowify to QuickBooks, will have all the line items of the schedule of values. And then we might have another line for retainage when applicable. So we definitely sync retainage. It's a very important piece for anybody doing commercial work and everybody having to deal with payment applications. And that's something that we've been actually supporting for quite a long time.
Great. I think that's the last of our questions. Really appreciate everyone joining in today. Happy we could show you a little bit more about what we set up with our QuickBooks Desktop and Right Networks integrations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Terrin. Thank you, Kevin. And we certainly look forward to seeing you guys, enjoying this integration, and we'll be here to help you actually succeed.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.